because society is becoming increasingly complex, how, as a parent, do you deal with that? I mean, how do you prepare your children for the complexity of society? What sort of tools do you give them? How do you give them those tools?
I think about this a lot. It's a wonderful question. I really love it because I think there are some really concrete answers. It's a question that when you first ask it as a parent is terrifying.
Yeah.
It makes your hair stand on end. You feel like you've stuck your finger in a socket. What am I going to do and why have I done this?
Right.
Because as a parent, you're surrounded by fear and by terror and anxiety, and you know the worst can happen. And so how do you bring it back down? How do you tame your hair? How do you pull your finger out of the socket? And my very blunt answer to that is you keep it real. You keep the toys real. You keep the emotions real. You keep the physical surroundings real. You teach them how to cook. You teach them to clean. You teach them about plants, about nature, about animals. You let them get dirty. You don't bathe them all the time. You travel with them. You don't go to fancy restaurants. You don't try and make everything perfect for them.
Right.
And you really, really teach them about stories.
Yeah.
You teach them about stories and you give them a sense of humor and you tell them how to tell jokes.
Right.
Last night, my daughter was pretending to be Captain Hook around the table. She was swinging around the table and I am Captain Hook. Well, she's blonde and blue-eyed. It's really hard to imagine her as Captain Hook. But she was getting there. You know, emotionally, she was really quite close. I am Captain Hook. And my husband was saying, Captain Hook, you have to come back to the table to eat your vegetables. Captain Hook says, I do not like vegetables. I will not eat them. I am Captain Hook. And my son, who's 10, says, Captain Hook, you don't eat your vegetables, you're going to get scurvy.
It's true.
And it's true.
It's true.
But it was this wonderful
so
moment
funny.
of Toby knowing what scurvy was, and then Brad said, how do you get scurvy? From not eating your vegetables,
Well,
not having vitamin C.
Integrating fantasy and reality.
And that's why the limeys are called the limeys, because the British are called the limeys because they brought limes on board. Yeah, that's where it's from.
I did not
in their
know
pocket.
that.
And so he knew that, he had that. That was where the interesting detail of the history came out. But do you see how it was deployed? It was used to connect out into the family through a joke, through a narrative, to solve a problem that we were encountering about Captain Hook eating something other than pasta for the night, which is not really a problem, but is one of those domestic situations that you frequently encounter. These things all loop together. The large, the small are always talking to each other.
Right.
They're in a constant circle. So you keep it real. You tell the stories, you make sure humor is paramount, you make sure empathy is involved, and you teach them how to do things. You give them competence in the world.
You empower them.
You empower them. Personal competence, intellectual competence, moral competence. New York is a great place to train kids about the difficulty of life.
Right.
Why is that person homeless? Well, why does that person not have shoes on the street? Shouldn't he or she have shoes? He'll freeze if he's out there. That's right, he will. Why is that going on? And then that becomes a chance to talk about injustice, inequities, poverties. Well, what do we do in face of poverty? Well, this is what we do. We live low on the land as far as we can, and we try and do what we can for other people. And then there's a terrible moment where you have to admit you can't do something for everybody you see who is in pain. You have to take care of yourself and your family and your loved ones first, and then whatever you have left over, you must give to other people. That will be my family's choice. You may make a different choice.
Right.
You're always framing it in context of you might come up with something better.
Right.
You might have another response. I'm going to listen to that.